Yeah, well, that's my current latest solo release, and we're doing that song in the show as in the show here, and it's a lot of fun because it's different than anything else. And we kind of go as far out as we want with it, kind of jazzy and bluesy. But it's a song I wrote back in '96, I think, and it's about having my twins and just having a charmed life. That solo album, which is also available at the site, it's an eclectic mix of just a bunch of stuff that I've recorded, not only from the mid-'90s, but more recently. And I'm actually getting ready to do a totally new solo project with a friend of mine named Bobby Croft. And his history is basically, he played a lot with the Almonds and Derek Trucks and a lot of other people, and he's a fantastic guy. He was in soccer world quite a bit, and he's very friendly with the big soccer stars over here, and we've invited a whole bunch of those guys to just show up at the gigs. I don't know if that'll happen. But he's a great guy, really good bass player, singer. We're writing some songs together, and his studio is all the old, coveted equipment that nobody has anymore. And he's got all of it, and it all works, and he knows how to use it. So I'm like kind of drooling, ready to go, He's got the same stuff that we used when we recorded Still the One, the API lunch boxes. And anyways, that's a whole other geek interview like equipment. But so I'm working on that. I have a band. I run this band that Lance is part of, and everybody's part of, called Rock and Pop All Stars. And we go out, we were in Iraq last summer playing for the troops. We had a show with Richard Branson and Virgin last year, which was, Sir Richard did a few gags with the band. It was really fun, over in Florida.
It was private?
It was private, yeah. And we was with the Hard Rock in Orlando, and when Sir Richard and everybody got there, when he was there, he said, okay, anybody who's in the hotel could come to this gig. So he invited the whole hotel. And he's a cool guy. But that was a lot of fun. And we worked with people like Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie, who's fantastic, and Skip Martin from Kool and the Gang, John Cafferty, Joe Lynn, just like about 30 or more guys are on our roster. And actually, if you want to check it out right now, the website is called rockandpopmasters.com, and that'll tell you the story. It's in some flux transition, but that's where you can check it out. So that's a lot of fun, and we played 4 continents, and we want to keep that going, in addition to Orleans. And then I'm in the Robbie Dupree band, and unfortunately for me, he just went to Japan again back in August, and I just couldn't go. It was the first time I couldn't go. And I was like, because I love the band and I love Japan.
That's an important album because, see, John had left the band in '77, and it was pretty abrupt and not a great timing, and in retrospect, we all regretted that, but it happened. So it took a year or two for us to regroup and then make the Forever album and have another hit. And then that was fairly short-lived. And we managed to tour in various forms. Larry and I kept it going. Wells quit the band. But we did that until 1984. And at that point, we were just burnt. We were done. In fact, we officially were done. But just, that was like September '84, we said we're done. And Wells Kelly passed away October '84. And when that happened, there was a memorial service in Ithaca, New York for Wells, and I didn't get to go, but John and Larry went, and they reconnected on stage. And then from that experience, they made a decision to try Orleans again. And so I was brought into that loop, and we made a bunch of demos. And John had connections in Nashville, and Tony Brown, the famous producer, indicated that if we wanted to make a record, he was game for that. So we submitted a bunch of these demos, and that's what eventually became the Grown Up Children album, with Tony Brown producing and Bowen above him, and David Hungate, Toto's bass player, was a staff producer. He worked on the project as well. But it was very, we got Nashvilleized, and what I mean by that is,
we didn't play hardly at all.
Producer hires the session players, and it's the same guys pretty much, right? And they got to play your tracks, and you don't get to play on them. John got to play a bit, and Larry got to play even less, and I got to play not at all. But we were singers. We did the singing. And so the album, and we broke a bunch of their rules, which Jimmy Bowen didn't like. And he was at the top of the pyramid, and he didn't like that. So Tony took a lot of hell, and David took a lot of grief about that. He was the grunt man. But anyway, it was neither a pop record nor a country record. It wasn't either, really, and it was before there was such a thing as Restless Heart, who did that so successfully, you know, straddled that line. So there was not really a place for it, and so we had no hits. And, you know,
we barely got any airplay at all.
It just petered out.
On country radio. Really, this was kind of a vanity project for Jimmy Bowen, financial interest, and for Tony Brown's, you know, artistic interest.
I think Jimmy just humored Tony, let him do it.
He was grooming Tony to take over Jimmy's position. And then, but in terms of what was really great about it for us, on the other side of the coin was, you know, we had a bunch of very cool cameos on the record, or more than cameos. Like I had Chet Atkins on one of my songs, which was, well, still can't believe it. And Steve Warner, Ricky Skaggs was on the record. Bela Fleck was on the record. I think that's it, but I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it had its place in the history, and it was the re-entry.
The other story is that we gave them the first round of demos, and they basically said, okay, that's great, we want some more, you know, give us more. So we didn't have a lot more, so we're trying to come up with stuff. So I had a song that I'd written it in like 3 minutes, and it was Juliet. And I had never showed it to anybody, and it was kind of embarrassing, you know, because it was about a date that I had and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I showed it to John, and me and John reworked it a bit, and then we were going to record it. But when we brought it down to Nashville, John handed a tape, which he was told not to do this, but he did anyway. He gave a tape to Dwayne Allen of the Oak Ridge Boys, and the next thing we knew, they were recording it, not us. So they had a big hit with it, which was very good for me. And that's just another Nashville story.
Tell me about